Happy November, everyone. I hope fall is doing well for you. And no matter where you are, whether you're staying cold or staying hot, that you are enjoying the leaves and the change of the season because it's always good. As you know, I'm Chaz Patrick. I'm a veteran engagement manager with INvets and also your host for the Patrick Connection, where I interview fellow Hoosier veterans who have made the transition successfully to Indiana and hearing their story as far as how they got here or how they came back here. So for today, I have a very special guest. She is a dear friend, and she has done so much for the community throughout the years, actually for our state as well. So I am going to welcome her to the stage, Savannah Wood.
Hello.
Hi, Savannah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem. So I'm not going to take away her thunder and like tell about her background, all that stuff. We're going to just naturally get into this and have this great session. So Savannah, let's talk about you and your military service.
Sure. So I spent 6 years active duty Army, 2 reserve to follow that. So 8 years total. I was assigned to the 2nd Brigade Combat Team under 1st Cav. So 1st Cavalry Division, stationed at Fort Hood. That was the name of it at the time. I have several deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And then 1st Cav was also attached to 82nd Airborne for a deployment to Hurricane Katrina as well.
Okay.
So I was on my total of 4th deployment whenever I was discharged from service. So.
Wow. So where'd you go? Like, so that you said here in America, and then where was the other place? So was it Iraq and Afghanistan?
All the deployments were to Iraq, but all throughout Iraq. And so every deployment, we'd start off in Baghdad. The last one, we were up north in Kirkuk. Several times I was attached to the 1st Marine Division or 24th MU for the battles in Fallujah and Babel. So kind of all over the place. So
okay. Well, that Army Marine Corps connection, I can appreciate that. That's awesome.
That's why we work so well together.
Yeah, I know, right? So so did you have one primary MOS or did you have like multiple?
I had one. So when I went in, it was a 96 Bravo, which was intelligence. So the S2 intelligence analyst. But then they changed it to 35 Fox. So I think it's still 35 Fox now in the military when they changed all the designators.
Okay. Now keep in mind for you intel people out there is some transferability as far as multiple industries you can get into. So whether it be private or public, I mean, there's definitely with that level of skills that you gain with your command, I mean, the opportunities are endless.
Yes, they are. Just finding the right connections to help you through that.
Yes, agreed. Okay, so we're going to transition to our next point. How did your military service help you to who you are today?
Good question. So I would say kind of the fundamental core values. And so, my civilian journey after the military, I've had different jobs in different places, but I kind of have always gone back to those core values, duty, of course, being one of the main ones, and just keeping those as my foundation. So no matter what kind of employment I'm placed into or what difficult situation I'm navigating through, when I leverage those values, it kind of just reminds me of the things I have accomplished in the military and how I'm able to get through those tough civilian situations.
Okay. So what were some of those positions that you did like right when you got out of the Army?
So I lived in Southern Arizona. And I worked for General Dynamics as a contractor and then eventually Department of the Army as a federal employee. Before moving back here to Indiana, where I worked for the state in workforce development. Okay.
And what you do with DWD?
So I worked with the American Job Center or the Work One office as the DVOP, so just Disabled Veteran Outreach Program Specialist. And so I worked with other veteran job seekers, overcoming barriers to employment to be placed, which is where I met you.
Yeah, I was leaving as you were coming. So
yes, absolutely.
We gotta put a quick shout out to Operation Job Ready Vest too, because we're both alum from that program. So
that was great.
OJRV, we see you.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you did the DVOP, through DWO Work One, and then you made another transition right after that, right?
I did. So my current role, so as a DVOP, I started working with the Department of Labor Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program. So I was still on the American Job Center Work One side in the state, but I was kind of their liaison for the HVRP program, which is where I started to learn kind of the ins and outs of HVRP and how closely the Work One and HVRP work together. And so when there was an opening here at Echo Housing and Community Development, I talked to the director at that time, and they're like, yeah, please come on board. So, I left the state and joined the nonprofit world. And so I've kind of held, the military service, but then federal, state, and nonprofit sectors, all very, very different. And I appreciate all of them for different reasons. So have been with Echo Housing and Community Development since 2018.
Okay. It's been, 2018 has been that long?
Yes.
Man, time flies. And you're still doing some great work. So
thank you.
All right. So my next question, what lessons could you provide to like a transition service member today? Somebody getting out.
Sure. So I'm going to admit once my transition straight from, active duty to Arizona was relatively easy because I was still working with the military as a contractor and then federal employee. So that was kind of simple because there's all those opportunities for service members. My struggle hit whenever I came back to Indiana. And I had, all this intel training, my federal service, my contracting experience. And then I come back to Evansville, Indiana, and I did not know how to translate any of those skills. I was on the struggle bus for a good couple of years. I kept applying to jobs and getting denied, or somebody would say I was overqualified. And I will work anywhere. Please just hire me. I got to feed my kids type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so a huge piece of advice is no matter where a transitioning service member goes, when they get back to the community they plan on planting roots in, I highly suggest getting with their county service officer as a start, because every county has one, regardless of programs and other services and benefits that are there. And starting there, what does my county have? And then they can branch you out and connect you with other resources.
Okay. Networking, because we talk about your network is your net worth. I'm quoting Jerry Young here. What type of like circles should somebody really kind of look at if they're going to if they're coming back home or if they're coming to a new community, right? Because the network is obviously important, right?
Absolutely. I would definitely say, there are job centers everywhere you go. And of course, those job centers are going to be able to connect you to employment and business type resources and education and training opportunities. Your service officers are going to connect you. Of course, you have the VA, Veterans Affairs, Health and Benefits Administrations, and both of those sides. And you really just got to get in somewhere and then they'll be able to connect you. There's Business Network, International, and those partnerships. And so it really depends on what's your passion and what's your purpose and what do you want to get into? And then you align the networking with both of those things.
Okay. Yeah, that's so important. Like when you're talking to people and really kind of figuring out. Now, I got to ask this. What with networking, is it an art? Like so let's say if I didn't know you and I'm trying to get a job at Echo, so I say, hey, it was great meeting you. Hey, can you like offer me a job? Like, is that the right approach or
no? And I was really stubborn, and I'm going to give you some credit for a second because your work with the state, your work with INvets, you are like the networking pro. I can be like, hey Chaz, do you know somebody that works in this kind of circle? You just know everybody and you understand it. Networking is, you have to build the relationship, and you can't. There are some people that appreciate the no nonsense, just walk up and ask a question, but 99% of people, it's all about that relationship. And that's a struggle with a lot of transitioning service members, is they're very much in the military mindset. Well, you can't approach, your community with that mindset and necessarily be effective. So there's kind of this whole, self-growth and adjusting your own kind of leadership technique, your communication style. You have to adapt and grow all of those things as well whenever you decide to plant roots in a community. And then work on the networking piece because, to be honest, I was a little brash in the beginning as I was transitioning back here. Yeah, it's a process, and just being patient with the process is a big thing. INvets is a huge help for transitioning service members. And it's one of those things like back in my day, if I would have known, that was around, I would have absolutely used the resource. And it may not have been around in my time, because I'm not.
Actually, I think we weren't. So we started in 2018.
Okay. Yeah.
And I remember I got out in 2011. So now, like, when we talk to people at different bases, they're like, man, like Indiana, Indiana is back. Like, we want you to come here.
And that's what's awesome about the state of Indiana is we appreciate veterans and we appreciate veteran service, and we all work together across the state. And so maybe you're not really feeling the vibe of, Indy or Northern Indiana, and you come to the South, or vice versa. You're not really feeling it down here in Evansville and you want to move up to Indianapolis because you like the bigger city. We all work together, and that's a huge asset for the state of Indiana.
Agreed. And the fact of the matter is, like, cost of living is awesome here. Like, right? Like, you can make decent money and still be good and still have more money in your pocket.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a huge from Arizona to here. I was like, I got a house that's 3 times the size and half the cost. Like,
yes,
it's time to stay in Indiana.
Yep. And then, like, really kind of like, you're really not too far from any of the bigger cities, right? Like, what? So Evansville's what, 2 hours from Nashville, 3 hours from my sister's geographics is like off.
We're like the center. It's 2 to 3 hours. Nashville to the south, St. Louis to the west. There's 4.5 to 5 hours, but it's just up to Chicago. We have Indy just to the north. We have Cincinnati. We have Louisville. I mean, we're kind of in the middle of all this great stuff. But then you can come back to Evansville, just kind of rest, relax, regroup, have a family, whatever, But it's big enough that there are things to do. So
I agree, and I keep telling people this when I mean, like, hey, if you stayed in a military town, you got to remember when you're competing for jobs for veterans who like just got out, like that pool of veterans is like way higher compared to if you go to like another city that has a very a smaller veteran population 100%. To where your experience is extremely valued, and it's you got a little bit of an edge up as far as competing with the job market.
100%. Employers just in the entire state of Indiana, they want to hire veterans. They appreciate the sacrifice. They appreciate the respect and the discipline and the service. I mean, they appreciate so much, and they're willing to work through any barriers you may have in your journey to reintegrating. All the things. I mean, Indiana's a really, really great state.
It is indeed, and because where we're at, the snow. It's not as bad. If the snow, it either melts like the end of the day, or they shut everything down, or it's a mix of both. Well, unless you're essential, then you really got to come in. But
yes,
otherwise, it's good. It's not like below zero temperatures or 6 foot high snow. No, we don't get that down here in Southern Indiana.
Nope, that's very nice. So
that's more like Indy and like Fort Wayne and South Bend. They're near that lake effect snow. No snow thrown for my counterparts up in the north.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, hey, another question. Things you would like to close this session out with?
So I would say, as far as eco housing and community development, we work with, veterans in various stages of their life cycle. We work with transitioning service members, whether they're employees or receiving our services, because we do have 2 veteran specific programs. One's housing and one is employment. Whether they've been out for 10 or 20 years, whether, struggling with PTSD or other mental illness, substance use, low income, just all transportation issues, they have no supports. And so if you're a veteran, coming to Southwest Indiana, please find us. We are willing to help, to work with you, whether it's to offer you a job. I know we've worked with INvets and hired veterans, or you need our services. But don't give up. Obviously, that is a huge plug and something we try to reinforce with every veteran that we serve. Again, whether it's through employment or services, it get through it no matter how tough, because nothing's going to be tougher than the military. The things you accomplish in your service is much more difficult than reintegrating. Sometimes it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders because all you know is the military, but there are resources, there are people that care, and services that you can receive to help with that transition. And INvets is awesome.
Echo is awesome. Hey, real quick too, for anybody that's out there, LinkedIn Premium. If you wear the uniform, you can have LinkedIn Premium for free. Okay. And a lot of that's changed since both of us have been in. So as long as you wear the uniform, you get the 1 year premium. And then if it expires, you just re it up again. All right. So that's to active duty, reserves. National Guard gets it too now too. So you make sure you utilize that platform. And then also military spouses. Military spouses actually can utilize LinkedIn Premium as well for their career development, networking, LinkedIn learning. It has some really good features that can be able to help with your transition for sure. And then I always tell like fellow veterans or that are out, if you know where you're going back to, find your fellow veterans where you're going on LinkedIn, talk to them. The platform is really good now. You can have like virtual meetings out of LinkedIn without even exchanging contact information.
Yes, lots of job opportunities. So
you find job leads on there. You can. I know there's one guy I talked to, and he kind of educated on me with this. And actually, I kind of indirectly connected him with Mike Thompson. Shout out to Mike Thompson, DOL vets. He sent me voice messages. So he like sent me, because he's in Japan, so he has a time difference, and we were trying to connect and we couldn't. So we were sending voice messages out to each other. Shout out to Brad with Best Military Resume, BMR.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So use those types of things so that way when you help with your transition, you're building that community while you're in and asking those questions. And then additionally, and I'm sure Savannah can agree with me on this, take your leave. Take your leave.
Yes.
And let's say it don't necessarily have to be staying local. Go to conferences. Network with your civilian counterparts. If you like project management, go to the PMI conferences or go to your local chapter. If you like, I'm big about public speaking. I haven't done anything professionally yet, but Toastmasters. There is a association for public speaking as well. So use those type of aspects to not only expand your network, but enhance your brand professionally. So those are out there. If you need the resources, drop them in the chat. I'll hit me up in the chat. I'll drop them to you. And make sure you use those. So my last question to you, my friend, why Indiana?
One thing you mentioned earlier was cost of living. I came back to Indiana because I largely grew up in the west side of Evansville. And so I wanted to return home for family. But if you don't have roots and you're looking for someplace new to go, cost of living, the veteran resources are out of this world. And there's just this huge network of veterans helping veterans within the state. Lots of ability and chances to succeed in your life. Indiana is just really, really great for just opportunity for veterans.
West Side? I had to say that. I had to say that. Question, what's your top 3 favorite places in Evansville?
Oh.
If you can't think of 3, in Indiana.
Okay. It's gonna have to be Indiana. I don't travel a whole lot or really do much a lot.
Awesome, man. We gotta get you up in different parts of there are some like in this job Yeah, Brown County's good.
Brown County's got to be a big one. In Evansville, I mean, I love the river. I love just being kind of in nature. Garden of the Gods is awesome. You know, if you want to go someplace pretty close. Let's see what else. That's a tough question. And there's lots of food places.
You got one more.
Evansville has lots of food places.
All right, let's go restaurants then.
Favorite restaurant. Of course, I love some Taroni's pizza. I love Tiki. I love local. You know, La Campriana is outstanding. We do have some fine dining, but that hardly ever happens in my life. So yeah, local food, local coffee. We have a lot of that in Evansville.
Yeah, that's true. I love coffee. Hey, White Swan Coffee. Oh, they're not around anymore. Wait.
No, Penny Lane. Penny Lane's good.
Penny Lane. Yep. Penny Lane's good. Shout out to Penny Lane. I've been there. Beautiful place. Really kind of up. It's really good. It's downtown. It's not as busy.
Yeah.
Hey, you got A&R books.
Yeah.
And La Campriana, Abram. Yeah, he's awesome too. I've tried that food. Oh, I love their they have like these shakes and it's like nectar and it's kind of like thick.
Yes.
I'm doing a disservice to the drink, but it's great. And every time I'm over there, like I grab one of those. It tastes so good.
Yes.
So shout out to La Campriana. You guys are doing some great work, you know, with food and community and all that great stuff. So, all right then. Well, I am going to say to you, my friend, as always, thank you for your service to our country and to your continued service to our community. You do so much, and I am always grateful for your friendship and all you do for our community. So thank you with your journey with being a Hoosier veteran and also a great community leader. So keep up the great work.
Thank you. You too.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. All right, then, folks. Well, hey, we are going to close this up. Thank you for joining me for this month's session. I promise you I'll do a little bit better with checking in with everybody. Sorry I missed last month's, but we'll get that back on rotation. And so until next time, be well, stay cool or warm wherever you are, and take care of yourself. Until next time.
A thriving job market and low cost of living, plus a wide range of veteran benefits, make Indiana the perfect place for veterans of the United States military to call home. INvets can help you find that home. We're an organization started by veterans to help former service members transition to civilian life in our state. INvets can help you find the community with the career opportunities, housing, schools, and amenities that fit your lifestyle. To learn more about INvets, visit us at invets.org today.